Hello, great. So we've got Maxine Peake with us today. It's super exciting. Really pleased to have you here. Just tell us, in your own words, who is Maxine Peake?
Who is Maxine Peake?
Yeah.
I'm an actor and a writer from originally from Bolton, Lancashire. Now residing in Salford. I am a keen cyclist. Um, yeah, I'm a woman. Um, yeah, I mean, I suppose if anybody does know me, I would imagine for performing, I do quite a bit of film and television and theatre work. Been sort of acting now for quite a while, over 20 years. So yeah, that's me.
It'd be nice to go into the acting background a little bit. What are some of the highlights in your career in the filming industry?
I think initially the first highlight of my career was getting to work with Victoria Wood. That was one of the first jobs that I left drama school, and I'm very, very fortunate to go and walk straight into Dinner Ladies, playing a character called Twinkle. So that was a real highlight. But for me, I mean, my first love is theatre. So I think I played sort of the first female Hamlet in this country for sort of over 30 years, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. So that was sort of a highlight, more that I was allowed to do it more than anything. And I'd been, I suppose, stubborn enough to want to do it. But I always think you're only as good as the job, you know what I mean, the job that you're doing at the time. And I've got lots of parts that I've played that obviously I've really enjoyed, but I'm always looking for that next. What's the next role? What's the next?
Yeah, I guess that's probably normal in anything that people are passionate about. You sort of tick something off, and then you want to say what is next. So, did you follow just sort of a normal path when it comes to acting? You said just there that you went to drama school and then straight into Dinner Ladies.
No, not really. I mean, it took me. I didn't go to drama school until I was 21, which is sort of, most people go when they're sort of 18, but I didn't get in. It took me 3 years to get into drama school. Nobody wanted me for sort of 3 years.
Are you like the J.K. Rowling of acting then?
Well, yeah, lots of rejection, lots of rejection from drama school. And then, in fact, it was sort of the last year, and I thought, well, if I don't get in this year, then I'm going to have to find a different path into it. But I sort of felt very passionately at the time that I felt like I needed some sort of training, whatever that was. So I did. And then once I got to drama school and leaving drama school, I felt I was very lucky. Once I'd got Dinner Ladies, I've had chunks of time at work. Don't get me wrong, 6 months, 9 months. I think people think you're constantly working, and you're not. There's a lot of time you sit waiting for the phone to ring, or as a waiting for that right job to come along. I mean, initially, it was just like anything. I'll do anything. I'm very lucky that the first job happened to be with Victoria Wood. That was like a dream come true. I wasn't expecting, to walk into something, great. But yeah, so but I suppose once I left drama school, it did. But I auditioned for drama school for 3 years before that. I was trying to get into sort of theatre and education, which I did for a little bit, where you sort of jump in the back of a transit van and drive around the country, entertaining sometimes non-plus school kids. I got rejected. I mean, I got so many rejections, early on from like theatre and education, but I just just about sticking at it. I think it's like anything. It's like sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about the dedication. It's like any profession.
And what is it that drew you to it so much? Why did you feel that acting was a thing for you?
I think I like showing off. I mean, initially, I like people laugh, but unfortunately, I haven't really played many roles recently that have many laughs in them. But initially, it was, I think, realising as a child that the effect you had on people and making them laugh was such a buzz. And it was, I just like dressing up, being other people, being silly. And then I thought, oh, you can make a living from basically messing about. I'm going to have to go like that.
From all this play acting that you do, like putting on a show in front of your family, like, I've got to play for you, and then you're like, this is a job.
Well, yeah, we used to have, they used to call it do you remember Poufet? It's like a little sort of square sort of
thing that you put your feet on.
That we used to have, and I used to stand on there and do Michael Crawford impressions, and I used to sing Chloe Gaynor's, I Will Survive. Yeah, and I'm not very well, I don't think, but I think they just used to sort of put up with me, you know what I mean, and find it. I think they laughed, not with me at that point.
Yeah, and then you're just enjoying it so much, you wanted to take it to the next stage. And what do you do in your downtime? You're saying that, you might have 6 or 9 months. Do you try and keep yourself busy? I mean, surely it's not just wait for the phone to ring.
I do. I mean, I write as well. I mean, I started writing. I mean, actually, Beryl, the play I wrote about Beryl Burton, was really the one of the first sort of serious things that I wrote. That I wrote initially as a radio play, but now writing. So when I'm not acting, that does take up a lot of time. But yeah, but a lot of the time you spend a lot of time reading scripts. I mean, which sometimes to the detriment of my sort of actual book reading, because I think your job is spent a lot of time. And if you're reading a new script coming in that could be a possible job, or you're preparing for a job that's coming up, doing lots of research. So yeah, but time seems, I don't know, as I've got older, but time seems to fly by now. I remember years ago thinking 6 months out of work. I mean, and obviously as I've got older, I've managed my money better. Though if I have got 6 months out of work, I've managed. I can sort of, I can survive that.
Yeah, that must be such an important skill actually in that line of work, is that forward planning and being able to roll with the peaks and troughs of it all. And you mentioned your play there, Beryl. So anyone listening to this, Beryl Burton, cycling legend, and that's really how we got in touch with each other, was finding out about your play and your Beryl play. What was it that drew you to making a play about the cycling legend Beryl Burton?
Well, I have to sort of credit my partner Pav really for the idea. He started building up vintage sort of road bikes, and he'd been on various sort of internet sales sites, buying bits and pieces to me that looked like junk, but obviously wasn't junk. Little bits of cogs and sprogs and blah blah blah. And then one day it was my birthday, and I got my presents, and then there was a book, and I thought, oh, a book, and I opened it, and it was Beryl Burton's personal best, and I thought, well, I said, who's this? And he said, oh, I found it when I was looking through stuff of bike bits, and I just thought, oh, he said, I don't really know much about her, but I know she was a great cyclist, and I just thought, oh, this might be, because I was always looking for female stories, desperate.
Okay.
To do stuff, female role models, people away from the norm. I was getting a little bored with dramas being sent. There was just always around women and the relationships with men and blah 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 blah. And and I thought there's a lot more.
There's more to women than that.
I just was intrigued from the off. And he put a little note in saying, "Get yourself a curly perm. There's a film part in this for you." And I read it, and it's quite a lot of facts and figures, and and it is a great read, but a lot of it's sort of time trial numbers. I wasn't au fait at the time with sort of time trial times and
gear ratios and
yeah. But and as soon as I read it, I just went, oh my goodness, because initially I thought, right, I'm going to write something about this woman, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a story of a woman struggling in a male world, not getting supported by a husband. It's going to be, I already thought I'd mapped out Beryl's before I'd even read it. And then when I started to read it, I was like, oh my God, Charlie was like backed her all the way. She was really highly regarded by the male cycling fraternity. It wasn't sort of the story I was expecting. And then that's when I thought, and I was doing a radio play at the time for Radio 4, and I approached the director and said, I've read this book. I think it'd make a great radio play with the sound of the wheels and, cycling through the dales, the wind, the heads, Beryl's in a monologue, what's really going on when she's on the bike on her own, what is that relationship between Beryl and the bike? Why did she love it so much? And, it was felt like the only person she was really competing against was herself.
Yeah. And she goes to say that, doesn't she?
Yeah, she was so driven and had so many, incidents in her life to make her that, but the focus and dedication and determination, I just thought was astounding. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. I asked this radio producer and she said, you write it. And I went, oh, I don't think I can. Can somebody else just not write it and I'll be in it? And she said, no, you have to write it. And so I went, okay. And I sort of sat and looked at my laptop for about a week going, I don't know where to start.
Yeah, how do you start?
But then I just sort of did. I just had to jump in and go and, draft after draft till, and Justine, the producer director, helped me through it and helped me, craft the sort of storyline and initially I started off, it was lots of monobarrels, monologues, and then we went to meet Denise and Charlie Burton, Denise Burton Coles and Charlie Burton, Beryl's husband and daughter, and we interviewed them, and the interview was so amazing, and they were so generous and so informative, and it was just inspiring listening to them talk about their mum and their wife, and I decided then actually it would be a shame not to use their own voices in it. So I started to write the play around what I'd sort of come back from the interview with. So that's how it started.
And what did you see as the hook then? If it wasn't going to be the story of a woman struggling in a man's world, maybe that is such an easy hook, isn't it?
Yeah,
the feminist struggle, getting turned away by the men and all of this, but it's not that at all. So how did you feel that this was still compelling? How do you feel that people will be emotionally touched?
Because the whole thing when you're writing drama, and when you're pitching anything, it's all about drama's about conflict. So where's the conflict? Where's there was conflict. And of course there was, not getting accepted for the Olympics. And of course she still had to fight and battle, but it wasn't the battle I was expecting. And I was expecting a sort of easy ride in a way of going, here's a woman with a husband who's going, get off your bike and get in the kitchen. And it just wasn't, that's probably my, completely my ignorance and short-sightedness. But it was then it was what I tapped into was this whole idea of Beryl competing against herself. This was somebody who told she should not do this on no certain terms because as a young woman having rheumatic fever with St. Vitus dance and saying you've got a heart arrhythmia, this is sport is a no-no for you, then going, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. I'm the best of anybody, most people's ability, I just love that. But the drive and the focus and the commitment to it. And I think it's that whole thing about when people at the top of the game and people go, oh, they're just naturally talented. But I think it's the same in acting. You just have to keep doing it. And acting's like, I always go, sports people train, actors, we're a bit like, we do a job and then we have a funny thing in the UK where like it's more common in America where you'll have an acting coach and you go to workshops, but we're still we do that a bit here. We're a bit like, well, I'm an actor, I don't need to keep learning or keep training. But, it was just Beryl's, I don't know, it was just her psyche. I could relate to it. I mean, I'm nowhere near as, focused and dedicated to my profession as Beryl was to cycling. But as a woman, having to do something and how much more you had to train and how difficult it is for a woman because of all the other commitments in her life, it's doubly hard. I think, for women to be that and the criticism you can get for being sort of that focused and single-minded about something. It's
because she almost just border on getting that criticism, I suppose, from people at the sacrifice of potentially dedicating all her time to being a mother or being there with her husband. She wanted to do that for her selfishly.
And it became about the love story, but the support between her and Charlie, because most stories when you hear about men, most of the time men are successful because there is, say behind every great man. And behind Beryl there was Charlie, but it was such a unique dynamic. I still now in a way. That a man would go, okay, I'll not sacrifice, but I will support you. You will become my focus, your sport, your talent, you know, I will get behind that and I will support you all the way. I still think it's quite unusual. And
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
you know, and I was like, I don't want it to be about the men. I want it to be then, but and you just couldn't. I completely fell in love with Charlie. You know, and you just go, yeah, it was about this team. There were two of them, and
Yeah. And I mean, it's really easy to fall in love with that story if you're already into cycling. You know, Beryl Burton's name is thrown about here, there, and everywhere. So we can tap into that story. But what sort of feedback would you get from, and especially from women who weren't into cycling? What did they take away from Beryl's story?
so many people were just like, oh my God, I'm so inspired by it. And as well, people, it wasn't just about inspiring them to start cycling. It was just inspiring them as up going, why didn't I know about this woman? I said, well, firstly, because she's a woman. You know what I mean? And I suppose the era that she was cycling in, but still, you know, who does, you know, we've got obviously now that you know, we've got female cyclists are much more on people's radar. You know what I mean? It's still not enough, I don't feel.
Yeah, we'll go into that in a bit.
But I just felt it was so many people said to me, oh, either just to see somebody they didn't know about, oh, and she'd achieved this, and they had never heard of it, had never crossed, you know, in their peripheral, sort of in their vision, this story, and then to go as well. And I said, well, then Beryl's just one. How many other female stories are there out there? How many other
Yeah.
amazing women who've achieved things that we don't know about, or men sort of hijack their story and twist it to their own, and then when you start digging, you go, oh, you know what I mean? Who
Well,
really?
yeah.
You know, the sort of, you know, the brains behind this, or the initiator of this achievement, whatever. But yeah, I just love that people sort of, who didn't know Beryl fell in love with Beryl and went, I'm going to find out more about Beryl Burton. And it was just, you know, of course. And I didn't realise how well known she was in the cycling fraternity as well. Loads of people, when he starts speaking, oh yeah, Beryl Burton. Oh God, I've not heard that name for ages. Oh yeah, Beryl Burton, she was amazing. And then people started to tell me about her, but people who weren't cyclists.
No
And some
idea.
I met. I did meet some female cyclists who I'd never heard of her. Why have I never heard of this woman? And I'm a cyclist.
Yeah. Oh, well done you for bringing that to the masses. It's a great story. Oh, definitely in the cycling community, we're delighted to have it out there. And yeah.
It's herself though, isn't it? Her story's so brilliant. Whoever'd written it, whatever you'd done, I think it would have captured people's imagination, because she was extraordinary, you know.
Yeah. But like you say, you still need that skill set. You've worked hard at honing yours, and you're the one that brought it out there, which is brilliant. And so when you're saying she's not necessarily about inspiring people to cycle, was she someone that inspired you to cycle? Was that process what got you back on the bike, or was it something else?
Yeah, no, it was. And I think,
That's
and as
cool.
well, I felt pressure because somebody used to say to me, oh, you're a big cyclist. And I go, well, well, sort of, if I need to get somewhere, or I go out for about an hour on my bike. And then people looking at me going, that's not cycling, Maxine. Cycling. Is it not? And then it took me quite a while after the play to pluck up the courage, and I kept going in Manchester. We've got the Rafa cycle shop, and I'd go in and get some cycling gear. Got can I just ask you about your club rides? And they'd tell me when they were, and I go, okay. And I go, on what level of, you know, the beginners, intermediate? And they said, well, anybody can come. And I'd go away and then come back 6 months later and go, can I just, because I was so frightened of joining.
Yeah.
Thought it's just going to be loads of skinny young men in Lycra going at 100 miles an hour and just, you know what I mean? You know, flinging themselves up hills, and I'm just going to have no chance. And I feel really self-conscious, and I'm not very good in places like gyms. I'm always like, oh, you know, I have to go and hide in a corner and go, please nobody look at me. I'm trying my best. So it was actually then a friend of mine who said, who's not a cyclist, I said, oh, you know, my partner's he's a cyclist and he's in Rafa and he'll take you out. So he took me out first on a couple of rides just to get my confidence up.
Yeah.
I joined, and then I went cycling on club rides. And then again, my friend Les and the friend Jill, who's a friend of Leslie's, she's a member of RAFA, we do our little weekend things together, and we go out. We did like 134k last. We did get lost. We weren't supposed to be doing 100. We thought we'd done a shortcut, then realised we'd done a long cut. But I just love it, and I'm annoyed with myself that I didn't sort of start later. I didn't start earlier and have the confidence, because I think it's all about confidence and you know, and going, you can do it. You know, somebody said to me, 2 years ago, you'd be doing 90-mile rides. I'd be going, no, don't be ridiculous. But
it's amazing that you really have brought it up that far, and it just goes to show that people can get on a bike and do it.
Brilliant. I'm addicted now. I'd actually like to pack in acting and just go out on my bike all day. If I literally get my schedule, I'm filming at the moment, I get my schedule and I go, I never got a day off so I can go out on my bike. That's why, it's become, and this is the first thing I think really that I've stuck at for this long. I'll do things for a bit and then I have a couple of months off, or I'll go and do something else exercise-wise, and I get very bored. But cycling, it's addictive.
I know what you mean. You end up trying to shape your life around your rides. Like the rides are the thing that you're living for, and then the rest of life is what fits in around it.
Well, at one point I was going, I'm filming over in Cheshire. Well, we do a lot of the Cheshire Lane, so I wonder if I could get up early. I mean, I get picked up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was thinking, maybe I could get up at 5 and cycle to work. And I was going, no, you're going insane. What, cycle all that way? Then you do a full 12-hour, 13-hour days filming. And then and at first I was kidding myself. I'd be able to do it, and then I thought, well, actually, I'd get there all sweaty, and then I don't quite know how I'd get ready to get to. It's
And what is it that's hooked you on it so much?
I don't know. I think it's just the sense of freedom. I think it's calm. It's brilliant. I just feel it's been great for my mental health, and just, getting out there, getting, and just getting out into nature for one, and just experience it in a different way than being in a car. I think it's the achievement, and then it's the camaraderie as well of cycling with people in those days when you're cycling along and you chat, and then you go, oh my God, we're here already, or when and I love going out on my own as well. I really love going, okay, I'm going to go on a big ride on my own today, and that gives you time to think and reflect. And
do you remember your first ever ride on your own by yourself?
I went up to, I went from my house up to, I sort of took a long route right up to Rivington in the West Pennines, and I sort of went up and all through Darwin, and I've been very fancy, and I got myself the way. It was the first time I went out on the Wahoo, got little Wahoo on my bike. But the sense of achievement of being on my own and getting home was brilliant, and it's quite hilly, and there's a bit in Rivington called Belmont, and I remember lots of cyclists overtaking me as I'm struggling up there. It's quite an undulating road that takes you up, and then it's a beautiful drop down through Rivington Village, and you come back through. But just the sense of achievement of going, I've come all that way on my own.
And did you plan it, or was it because a friend pulled out or something like that, and you were like, I have to do this?
I just thought it was a weekday, and I just got up and I went, I'm just going to go out now. I'm going to do it. And so off I went, and I just loved it.
Yeah. And you, as a person, just from picking up chatting to you, sound quite hooked on the next thing that you can do as well. Like, you've had phenomenal achievement and growth in your cycling, extending those distances, learning more about it as a sport, as a culture, as a leisure activity. And it just sounds like you're discovering new things with it all the time. And a bit like what you're saying about the acting, it's like you almost need that next step. Is that something that drives you?
Yeah, I think, of course, with age restraints, I'm never going to be an amazing cyclist, you know what I mean? And it's not, but it is about, you're constantly learning about the bike, just things like tackling hills and the gears and things, and getting more sort of accomplished.
Yeah.
You do feel there is a lot to learn. And a lot of people said to me, you need about 3 years in your legs really before you get, it's not an easy But it's like when I always say, I always go back to, I mean, what Charlie said about Beryl. And I mean, because you sort of, I think, oh, what, sometimes when I first started on the rise, and sometimes I'd be at the back and I go, Joe, wait for me. I'm embarrassed. Just keep going. Everybody at the top of the hill waiting. And I was just like, it's fine. I know where I'm going. And they're going, don't leave you. And I was going, please leave me. I don't feel like I'm letting anybody down. Just keep moving. But he said, at the beginning she rode, she rode at the back of us, then she rode at the side of us, and then she rode in front of us. I mean, I know Beryl was a lot younger, but there is a thing that you go, yes, there's still lots to achieve. You know what I mean? Don't give up. Don't go, oh well, I've been cycling a year now, and I'm still struggling on these hills or this. You go, well, you've got to put a lot of miles in, and you've got to keep, working at it. It's not just overnight. Some people have that straight away talent for it, but it's like anything. There's a skill to it, and you need to learn that, and you need to get your strength, and so.
And what are some of the things, like if you were to pass some advice on, some things that you wished that you'd known when you were first starting out, or some of the top tips that you've been given that have really helped you with your cycling?
I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, one of the things, again, I wish I'd just started earlier with it. Something that I picked up a little bit earlier. But I think it is the top tips, like Penla said, like I said, the thing, you need to get some sort of years in your legs. You need to get plenty of miles, and it is about doing the miles, and you get strong. And I don't need, yourself, if you have a week off, I come back to it, or two, sometimes when I've not been able to get out on the bike for 2 weeks, and I come back to it and I'm like, oh God, this is hard. Sometimes, and sometimes you have good and bad days, and sometimes you don't know what, sometimes I think that was really hard today, that ride, or that ride was really easy, but it's just about going with it. And not
do you beat yourself up? Are you someone that will beat yourself up if you've had a hard ride, or are you quite relaxed
I'd got a new bike, and it's brilliant, but I'd had some trouble with the gears, and a screw had come, and I couldn't flip up and down, and everyone was going, what's wrong with it? And I was going, I can't. So I was in the big ring all the way up the hills, and then I got cramp, and I was on a ride. And there's a big gang of us, and it was one of the women's rides from Rafa, and they're so amazing, those young women, and they're so supportive, because I'm sort of the oldest by quite a few years, I think. And I'd got cramp, and it was just, and I was so embarrassed. And I just, at one point, I just want to throw my bike over the wall and hide. Waiting for me. And I was like, not waiting for me, please leave. And it was all going, everything just felt like it was going wrong. And I just, sometimes somebody come and pick me up, and you just got to stick with it. But there's a point where you've got to swallow your pride as well. And and go, it's fine, and it's all right, and you're not ruining anybody's ride.
Yeah.
It's that, again, it's the team, and everyone looks after each other, and then you go on another ride, and then it's not somebody else is in the same position. Everyone has those bad rides, and it's fine, and nobody.
And you don't hate them for it.
No, God, you don't. Oh, I'm just going, thank God it's not me, because no, but you don't, and it's that, and I love that element of going, somebody's having a bit of, let's hang back a bit, give them a bit of support. Sometimes other people are racing off at the front, and then you notice that somebody's struggling a bit, or something's happened, they're having an issue with the bike, or it's great to feel that's an achievement as well, to go, you've all gone out together and you all come home together. Along the way,
It's life skills, really, isn't it? It's not just about cycling. These are all things that you can use in everyday life.
Exactly.
And I was going to ask you, but you sort of just mentioned it there, but about riding with other women. Do you often ride with other women? Is that something that you seek out, female company on a bike?
Yeah, well, we do. Like I say, again, I know I keep going about, but that was, my nearest cycling club is Rafa, so they do have a lot of women's rides. So I do, I when I can, go on the women's rides, which is just, again, it's just great to have it's just a conversation. Everyone's from all different walks of life, different ages, different backgrounds. It's just really interesting. And then the one thing that brings them all together is the love of cycling, but yeah, and it's, again, I just feel, but then, I just feel that sort of, there is that support there. And You
And I
know,
like what you say about everyone from different walks of life, because
yeah,
like I've gone cycling with people sometimes for months and months and months, and then I realise I don't know how much they earn, or I don't know if they're a big judge or a policeman or whatever it is, you know, any type of job that would normally be a conversation starter at a party or something like that. You don't know these things about people, and that you're all, and I'll ride with people of all different ages and all different backgrounds. And you being a bit of a celebrity as well, do you know, find that you get to enjoy cycling with other people that like cycling?
yeah. So you're the cyclist. You know, you're in a
Yeah,
cycling group. You all become. You're not what your job is, which is brilliant. You know, I don't know whether I think a few of the women in the group know what I do, but I don't think they're particularly impressed. I don't mean they're unimpressed, but I don't think they're not like. But you know, it's just you're in a cycling group, and we all
yeah,
work for a living, or don't, or housewives, or mothers, or whatever everybody does, but it's still a job. You know, it's still a job. You know, everyone
yeah,
does different things, but you are not defined by it. You are
yeah.
out
As
for
long as
your
you're there
life.
enjoying the ride.
Yeah, cycling, and yeah.
Yeah. And have you managed to get any other friends into cycling? Is that something? Have you spoken to other women?
Well, I'm getting there. I'm sort of getting there with a few friends. I've got friends who keep sort of going, oh, I'm quite. I have dropped off a load of sort of cycling, sort of you, not you, but you know, some of my old cycling gear off at an extra. Got one neighbour who keeps going, oh, I keep seeing you go out on your bike, and I've got my husband's bike, and I'm thinking I might just come. So, but I've not quite got it out yet. And then another friend is in the process at the moment of buying. She's in the process of buying a bike.
That's
She said, "Oh,
exciting.
you're having a great time." I said, "I am coming." And then she said, "See, my other friend goes running." We were laughing because she said, "I said, well, the good thing about cycling, you can talk more than you can when you're running."
Extra
Yeah,
chats.
yeah, you can have a better chat. Running,
Mm.
I did running for a bit, and I was like, I'd run for about 10 minutes, and I got, I
But getting friends into it, I mean, that's something here at Cycling UK. We've found that friends and family really is the big turning point for most people getting started in cycling. It's the same for you, wasn't it? You're saying then you're speaking to the people at the cafe, but it's actually a friend saying, come on, get
can't.
out and go for it.
No, and you need that encouragement, and it's like I must admit, Les, who the guy who's sort of said come out cycling with me, you know, and he's been brilliant. And I've been saying about other female friends, and he's well, get them out, you know,
Yeah.
again. And he knows the importance. I think he understands, and I think especially for women, we feel a little bit self-conscious sometimes and a little bit judged, and we know sometimes things seem very male dominated, and it can all get a bit, you know, we've been in situations where you don't particularly feel comfortable, or it's too competitive, and
Mm,
you know, again, you're going to keep, you know, keep saying you feel like you're going to get judged. And he sort of understood that. He said, you know, come out with me, I'll build you up on the rides, and then you'll be ready to, you know. And I think I've been out sort of 4 weeks, and then I've been cycling for sort of 4 weeks, and then signed up for the women's 100, which I was like, what am I doing? I mean, I nearly died when I made the big mistake of halfway around when we stopped at a cafe. I had a cheese and onion pie. Don't ask me why I had a cheese and onion pie. But, and then I took a big hill. There's a hill called Artist Lane, which we all hate, this massive hill. And then when I got to the top, I was like, I think I'm going to be sick. And I was like, yeah, with the cheese and onion pie. I was like, oh,
the pie is not the good lunchtime
that's
spot.
what lessons learned. Your food intake as well, how much you need to, what, you know, eating along the way. It's not like a leisure cycle where you can just stop off and have a bit of a heavy lunch, and then you can, you know.
Yeah, your top tip for cycling. And so I'm going to start wrapping it up here.
Sorry, Anna, I'm just going to plug myself in. I don't know whether this. Sorry.
That's all
And it's
right.
going dark as well. I'm so sorry. Oh, there we go. It's happening.
We've got better lighting now. Great, we can see you more. As you know, we're delighted to have you as an ambassador for the Women's Festival of Cycling. But why do you personally think, you know, are you doing this role? Why do you think it's important to encourage more women to cycle?
Because I just think it's such, it gives you so much freedom. You know what I mean? It's a brilliant way to exercise. You know, it's I think it's fantastic for your mental health to be able to get out in the country, or wherever, wherever your environment is that you live. I mean, I say get into, one thing for me, it's about, I have to cycle about 30 minutes before I get out into, sort of anywhere sort of more rural, but just, it's freedom, and then the camaraderie of it. I think it's something you can start and build up. I don't think there's any pressure. I think the cycling community I think most of the time are so inclusive, you know what I mean, and friendly and supportive. And one of my favorite things is cycling around and saying hello to when you're on your bike.
It is, it's like, hi.
I'm like very upset when people don't say hello back. I usually blow a raspberry. I'm like, oh well, I'm offended. And I'm really shocked if anybody especially on a road bike doesn't say hello back. I'm like, oh well, you're not a team player. You're not a real cyclist. Supposed to say, but it does feel you're part of something. It's nice to feel part of a bigger thing, and it just feel there's a community there as well.
Yeah.
And I do think it feels very supportive and supportive. Yeah, but I just think it's such a great exercise, and it is, you can take it easy. You can, have a nice Sunday out if you want, poodle, coffee, cake, do your thing. There's no pressure.
Yeah.
It depends how you want, how much you want to invest in it and how much you want out of it. But for me, it reminds me of being a kid. It reminds me of those days going out on my bike all day, getting lost, cycling for miles, and then going, do you know where we are? No idea. Then we've got 10 minutes to ring somebody's mum or dad to, but it's the freedom of it. It's the freedom of it, and not being in a car. I mean, and obviously trying not to get killed by, I mean, there's one, you know what I mean? But I think people go, oh, I don't feel safe on the road. I must admit, that doesn't, I think is when we're with a good group of people and you get some good road sense, and the more you cycle, the more you get aware of drivers. And, there's some quite unpleasant people out there in motor vehicles at times, and I don't understand why they've got such a beef with cyclists. They do, but I would not let that put anybody off, you know what I mean?
And I'm pleased actually you've touched on this topic, because we love cycling, but we do want to make the UK a cycling nation, more people on bikes, and we do know that fear of cycling is sometimes a big barrier. It puts people off. Is there any way that you overcome that, or that you can dispel the myth of needing to be scared even? Or what's it to you?
Well, I think it is. It's about, of course, you just got to be focused and be sensible, It's actually given me a lot more patience, you know what I mean, with people, patience with people in cars, because there's times when I would be quite tempted to give them a mouthful back. But now I just think, well, I have little.
Maybe you're a better person than me then.
Angry, I go, well, it's probably because of this. So, and I have a little chuckle to myself why they've just screamed at me out of a window, because their car is actually too big for the road. Not that the fact that I'm on a small, slim thing with two wheels, what's a car that big and you can't drive it properly? That is not my problem. But I just think it's awareness. Actually, and most drivers are very kind.
Yeah.
They do, you know what I mean? They will look out for you, and it's just, But I just think, stick to roads, and I would, it's knowing, plot your journeys properly, and get genned up on where you are going. What is the traffic situation? Is this a really busy road? Is there ways I can avoid it? Or if not, just to be very aware, take your time, you know what I mean? At roundabouts, things like that, crossings. Don't be afraid to get off your bike as well if things feel a little bit hairy. Get off and cross at crossing. Don't, I think there's this whole sometimes culture of never get off your bike. You know what I mean?
It's fine. There's no shame in that.
Yeah, exactly. But just
really
be sensible, but be confident as well, and don't let cars bully you. I think once you start to push back a bit, take your space on that road.
Yeah.
The best thing to do is to take your space. I always say, when at traffic lights, get into that green box, get in front of the cars, You know what I mean?
'Cause that's where they can see you.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go, you know, and that obvious things like if there is a bus or a lorry, I was like, just stay behind, you know what I mean? Stay
Yeah,
behind, just give everything a bit of space.
yeah.
You know, it's not worth it to just think, oh well, I'll just, you know, weave in and out of there and I'm away. Just and if cars are being, you know, difficult, let them get out of the way. Just let them go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's some great tips there. Thank you. And I'm going to wrap it up. This has been absolutely amazing. And I'm going to hand you over to Christina now, who's going to do a quick fire question round with you.
So I'm going to do the quick fire round now. So why do you cycle?
Because it's fun.
Yeah, perfect. How far do you ride each week?
I'd say, about 150k.
Okay. And do you have multiple bikes?
I do. Yes.
And
two.
which of your bikes is your favourite?
Oh, my new acquisition is my Pearson. Mine goes to 11.
Okay. And what do you always take with you when you cycle?
Plasters. a protein bar.
Mm-hmm.
Lip balm.
Oh, I always take lip balm wherever I go.
And I put it on my cheeks here because I get really sort of wind. So I sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and my puncture kit, obviously puncture kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And who mends your punctures? Very convenient. That's the next question.
Well, to be honest, I'd have to say my partner. I try and then I just, yeah.
Okay. And it's raining. So bike, public transport or car?
Bike.
Bike. Okay.
Yeah.
Lycra or normal clothes?
Lycra.
Okay. If you had £100 to spend on cycling, what would you get?
Not very much. No. What would I get £100 to spend on cycling? I'd get myself a snazzy cycling top and some socks to match.
Nice. What's your favourite cycle journey?
My favourite cycle journey, I would say, is up to Tatton Park in Cheshire and through the park, seeing all the deer, and then back through the Cheshire
lovely.
lanes.
What single thing would most improve matters for UK cyclists?
A better cycling, even better cycling network, and more awareness for drivers.
Yeah.
More awareness of drivers for cyclists.